To the youth of Africa, listen to me carefully. We are standing on the edge of history, and this is the moment when you must decide, will you continue to wait for salvation from outside, or will you rise and claim your destiny? For too long, we have been told that we are too weak, too poor, too uneducated to build our own future. But I tell you today, that is a lie. They said Africa cannot manufacture its own machines, yet every year we produce millions of brilliant minds, but only to serve others. We train engineers, yet we import even the simplest tools. We have fertile lands, yet we depend on others for food. Why? Because we have been programmed to doubt ourselves. We have been taught to beg for aid, instead of building strength. We have been trapped in the illusion that without Europe, without America, we are nothing. But I see a different Africa, and I want you, the youth, to see it with me. I see an Africa where the sons and daughters of this continent become the inventors of tomorrow, where we build satellites that orbit the Earth, and they are made by African hands, where our doctors do not flee to foreign countries, but stay to build health systems that serve our people with dignity, where we are not the customers of foreign technologies, but the creators of technologies that change the world. But my children, to get there, you must understand, no one will build this Africa for you. The liberation you want, the prosperity you desire, the respect you seek, you must build it with your own hands, and that begins with education. Not the kind of education that teaches you to pass exams and wear a suit, but the education that teaches you to solve problems, to think critically, to ask, what can I create? What can I improve? What can I build that my community needs? If your education is not making you more useful to your people, it is a prison, not freedom. And yet education alone is not enough. We must also have courage. Courage to innovate. Courage to fail and try again. Courage to stand tall and say, I will not run to Europe for a better life. I will build my better life here. Look at the world. It is built by men and women no different from you. They are not gods. They have no special blood. They succeeded because they believed they could, and because their societies invested in their talents. We must do the same. My vision is of an Africa where every youth is a soldier, not with guns, but with skills, with knowledge, with innovation. Imagine an Africa with its own search engines, its own social media platforms, its own tech giants, its own pharmaceutical industries, its own energy companies driven by solar and wind, from the Sahel to the Cape. This is possible, but it requires discipline. You cannot build the Africa of tomorrow if your mind is addicted to distraction. You spend hours scrolling, laughing at memes, watching others build, while you remain spectators in the theater of global progress. Enough. I call on you to wake up. I call on you to master skills, learn to code, learn to design, learn to farm smartly, learn renewable energy, learn manufacturing. If you do not, others will, and you will remain slaves, not by chains, but by ignorance.
Folks can't ride your back unless your back is bent. The poet says, is this your back that is bent? Martin Luther says, folks can't ride your back unless your back is bent. So we've got to straighten up our backs, because when folks straighten up their backs, you know they're going somewhere. And so we were here today to begin to strengthen up the first few faltering steps in the direction of building a buoyant, a resilient, a united, a proud Africa. And so we met in Lusaka today to reaffirm, to deepen, to broaden a relationship between Botswana and Zambia. A relationship that must translate into concrete deliverables, that must transform the lives and livelihoods of the multitudes in our countries. A relationship that must serve as an exemplar for the rest of the continent. Call on the rest of Africa to straighten up our backs. And this relationship must endure. It must carry and sustain not just Botswana and Zambia. It must ripple far and wide and cover the rest of the African continent. And so at this point, ladies and gentlemen, let me humbly request you to straighten up your backs and rise to your feet. As I speak prophetic words to the African continent, we've got to straighten up our backs. Folks can't ride our backs unless our backs are bent. We've got to straighten up our backs. And so, to the straighten up of our backs as Africans, to the reassertion of our pride, our unity, a deepening of the ties that bind us, to the health and vitality of every son and daughter of the African soil. Cheers.
Let us stay in Africa and build Africa. I mean, what does Africa lack in terms of resources? What do we lack? If it is solar energy, which continent is capable of producing solar energy to light this continent and the entire earth? If it is hydroelectricity, what can we not generate? If it is minerals, if we wanted to make bombs, if we should, where do they get their uranium from? If it is timber, what don't we have? If it is human resources, we are 2 billion of us, and we are people who have intelligence, and yet we are kept in a constant state of conflict. The Europeans, the French persuading their former colonies that they are more French than they are Yoruba. They are more French than they are Wolofs and Mandinkas. The British persuading us that we are more British than we are Ibibio or Yoruba. And of course, when we find ourselves in that schizophrenic state, then we engage in internal conflict and they sell their arms to us. Tell me, which African country makes guns? None.
Africa must build Africa. The African has to stop being a beggar, asking foreigners to come and build our home. It is impossible. Let me put it in context for you. Think about it this way. You're trying to build your home here and you call your neighbor to come and assist you with roof tiles and with wood and with cement. At some point, I mean, even if they're as gracious as whatever, they will help you to a certain level. But it gets to a point where it's not their home. So they're not concerned about building their home because it doesn't belong to them.